The cast of Wednesday became celebrities overnight. Yet, dare we say that they definitely earned their success? Watch this video to learn about the challenges they had to overcome. Find out why Jenna Ortega took cold showers every day for 8 months. Discover why the cast members felt so lonely during the shooting. Plus, learn which strict rule annoyed Jenna Ortega the most.
Maybe it's time to lean into it.
Don't mind the cold. While binge-watching Wednesday, fans couldn't help noticing the gorgeous locations of the show. Surprisingly, the Nevermore Academy is not a made-up set, but a very real place. The series was filmed in Romania, and the bewitching Cantacuzina Castle was the exterior of the spooky boarding school. Its interiors, however, were shot in another location, Monteoro House in Bucharest. Joy Sunday, who plays Bianca, revealed that the castle and the neighborhood around it was a really beautiful environment to be in. We went away 4 or 5 days into the mountains to shoot. It was a little vacation, essentially. It seems like Joy is more of an optimist than the show's star, Jenna Ortega. She shared that the 8 months she spent in Romania were quite challenging. Shockingly, the entire cast never had any hot water. The boilers in 2 of my apartments were broken, explained Jenna, so I always took cold showers. It turns out the bulk of the show was filmed in the cold months, too.
Cold.
Frigid.
Yes.
Frigid.
Moreover, it was in the midst of the pandemic, so there were severe lockdowns. Everything was closed because you couldn't do anything, elaborated Ortega. It feels like we survived something. On top of that, the young actors had to learn another rule if they wanted to keep their job. Get used to isolation. Understandably, the cast of the show felt quite lonely being so far away from home. And they also couldn't leave the premises, even in their time off, else they'd have to quarantine again.
And we were sort of in like this bubble, you know, because we wasn't really going out like into the outside world. And so we sort of just had each other, so.
Thankfully, halfway through filming, things started to open up more. So the actors could finally do some sightseeing, like Hunter Doohan and Ricky Lindholm, who traveled to the salt mines and Dracula's castle in Transylvania. And around Christmas, most of the cast were able to go home. Unfortunately, Georgie Farmer and Emma Myers were not that lucky, as they had a shorter holiday break because of their filming schedule.
Just felt like me, Emma, and Tim were like the only people left in Romania before Christmas.
Speaking about Emma, she's the only member of the main cast who had to follow a unique rule. Go to a werewolf boot camp. The chemistry between Wednesday and Enid is mesmerizing. Can you imagine anyone else playing these two? It turns out, Emma Myers initially wanted to portray the titular character. In real life, she's an introvert and doesn't like wearing colorful clothes. But she was self-aware enough to admit she wouldn't be a good Addams.
Wednesday does not come to me naturally. Enid does.
Still, Myers didn't know what she would have to do to play a bubbly werewolf. At the start of the show, her character is a late bloomer and cannot yet undergo a full transformation. Her mother even threatens to send her to a so-called conversion camp to help Enid wolf out. That doesn't exactly sound like a nice place. And Emma didn't know she'd have to go to a similar, well, let's say, center of learning.
So they asked me to come in and do, werewolf boot camp, and I was like, okay, what does this mean?
Boot camp.
There, she went through a very specific and tough training program.
I've never done so much parkour in my life. Running on the floor on all fours, leaping
Jumping
over things.
But that wasn't the strangest thing Emma and her on-screen brothers had to do. The actress revealed that there were stunt guys who pretended to be sheep. Myers and the gang would crawl around and circle them. So yeah, Emma actually did some field work to get into the werewolf spirit. Still, that's nothing compared to what Jenna Ortega had to go through. Become the perfect Addams. Jenna has often been compared to Wednesday, mostly because of her dark sense of humor.
Because I'm very dry, and I don't think people can tell when I'm being serious or when I'm being sarcastic.
But that doesn't mean that becoming the iconic character was an easy ride. In addition to 12-hour workdays, Ortega was constantly in training.
I did cello, fencing, canoeing, archery, boxing, German, just a bunch of little things like that, yeah.
And she got really immersed in perfecting those skills.
My fencing teacher did say that he wished that he had me when I was 10, because then I could have gone to the Olympics or something.
The actress insisted on doing her own stunts. However, in some of the show's more gravity-defying moments, she was backed up by a former Cirque du Soleil artist. On her social media, Jenny Ayumi Umbao posted a gallery of photos alongside Ortega, including the duel between Wednesday and Bianca. Joy Sunday revealed she also took fencing lessons. I trained for about a month, she shared. I think Jenna had started training a couple of months previous. And just like Jenna, Joy had to learn how to canoe. We had to race against each other, recalled Sunday. So you had to really put in a lot of elbow grease in order to keep up. No matter how grueling the learning process was though, the actual filming of the race was quite interesting too. The first day was sunny and warm, but on the second day, when the cast had to go in the water, it was freaking cold. When the boat started sinking, Joy's body froze up and she started hyperventilating. Sunday was probably glad she'd already learned rule number 1 by then, especially as it wasn't the last time the entire cast was freezing on set. While filming the Raven Dance Night, the actors got drenched to the bone. It took about 2 hours to film the bloody shower, and all that time, the cast was wet and cold. Still, for Jenna Ortega, that wasn't the most difficult thing she had to do for the show. After all, she had to follow a rule created especially for her. Stop blinking. Despite having so much in common with Wednesday, the actress hesitated to take on the role. It's probably the scariest job I've ever taken on because I know the pressure, respect, and love that comes with the Addams Family, confessed Jenna. First off, director Tim Burton wanted her to look emotionless and walk without moving her hands. To train her posture, Tim asked Ortega to act like she had a stack of books or a teacup on her head. And most importantly, she had to learn how to only play with her eyes. Wednesday's uncomfortable glare was actually invented on the set of the show. At some point during the first couple of weeks of shooting, I did a take where I did not blink at all, recalled Jenna. And Tim said, "I don't want you to blink anymore." Ortega found that pretty annoying as they had to restart a take every time she blinked or had tears in her eyes.
Romanian winter, there was all this wind in my face.
Eventually, she figured out that she could blink on other actors' lines. But there was an actor who faced even bigger challenges on the set of Wednesday, and he had to follow the last rule on our list. Be flexible. This character follows Wednesday around like a puppy.
Hello, Thing.
And the actor who brought Thing to life had to be right next to Jenna Ortega without being noticed, which was actually a pretty hard job. For starters, Romanian magician Victor Dorobantu had to wear a blue VFX suit that covered every inch of his body, except for one hand, of course. Then he spent several hours in the makeup chair, where his tattoos were blocked, the stump glued on, and all the stitches applied. Next, Victor had to figure out how to hide while doing his scenes. The magician revealed that he often had to have his body placed in the most unusual places to get the right shot. Upside down, under floors, behind walls, and even inside walls. Jenna Ortega recalled that there were desks with drawers removed and even man-shaped holes in mattresses. This allowed the actor to interact with the other cast members without being seen.
It was really odd, actually, looking back.
And most importantly, Victor had to act.
You have to show emotions through a simple hand that doesn't have voice or subtitle.
Moreover, Victor had to constantly be creative. The language Thing communicates in is actually a mix of American Sign Language, signs that scuba divers and Marine Corps use, and sheer improvisation. I was trying to react to Wednesday's lines and to her expressions, and I was trying to disconnect from my body, explained Victor. Who knew that playing a hand would be so tough? If you liked this video,
support OSSA by sending a super thanks. Just click on the thanks button under the video and choose an amount to donate. Stay awesome, and remember, we value each one of you.
And if you love Wednesday as much as we do, check out our other videos about this hit show.